This is such a big thing, right?
Thank you.
Come on, Jim. Good morning, Colin.
Morning.
Thank you very much for coming on the show. Fantastic. Thank you for being on the show today.
Thank you for.
I wanted to be kind of businesslike.
Can I see the other good?
Hello and welcome to Qatar's first sports podcast, In the Game. I'm your host, Steve Mackey, and we can't wait to introduce you to everything that is sports here in Qatar and afar. We're going to be bringing you personalities, company owners, institutions, individuals that are making a real difference. So, with us, enjoy the journey.
It's fun, man. Sports is fun.
Hello and welcome to In the Game, Qatar's first sports podcast. We have some super guests and I'm so excited about this one. We're with QST again. We're with another cohort. It's called Field of Vision. And we've got two smashing guests coming on. We've got David and we've got Omar. Please welcome to the show. I'm so glad that you've come on and I can't wait to hear about what you do.
Thanks so much, Steve. I'm really excited to be here. I'm looking forward to talking to you.
Good on you, Omar.
Yeah,
good on you, David. Thank you so much for coming on. So who's going to start this ball rolling with how you can tell me about Field of Vision?
Yeah, I'll go for it. So the problem is quite simple. There are, believe it or not, an estimated 100 million blind or visually impaired football fans around the world. And currently, the only way that they can experience a match is through somebody else's senses, whether that's having a friend or family describe the game to them, or going into a stadium and listening to the stadium's designated audio described commentary. We've spoken with visually impaired fans around Ireland and some further afield, and they all tell us the same thing, which is commentary, no matter how detailed, cannot fully convey the excitement and intensity of a sports match. And I mean, you don't have to be visually impaired to know that yourself. If any of the listeners have watched a match on TV and then subsequently listened to a match on radio, there's no comparison. Obviously, you want to watch the TV every single time because you're seeing it with your own eyes. You're getting the understanding of the game with your own senses. So what we're doing is we're building a handheld device which enables the user to feel the action of the game, such as the ball's position in real time, the tackles, shots, passes, which team has the ball. So for the first time, users will be able to feel the swerve of a free kick, the power of a shot, the strength of a tackle, all live and in a stadium.
No way. That's just incredible. And how important was that market research with what people were telling you? What I know you briefly told us, but what was some of the comments that was coming back and why you really knew that this is the one thing that you wanted to go forward with?
Well, I was working mainly on the market research, and we got in contact with a large group we emailed a group of blind people in Ireland and basically said, any of the football fans, come talk to us, just casual, and just we want to hear what you want in a game. And we found that audio commentary does certain things very well, such as lets you know the score, it lets you know which team has the ball, which player has the ball, but it also has loads of gaps, such as you'll listen to the radio and all of a sudden there'll be a goal because you'd no idea where the ball was on the pitch. There'll be a country tackle, but you have to just assume there was a big tackle. So we wanted our device to fill in the gaps that the audio commentary left. So that's what our market research found.
Your journey so far, how has it gone so far? How is it? You must be all feeling ecstatic about this.
Yeah, it's been a long journey and a quick journey, I think, also as well, because of the progress that's kind of happened since. This whole thing really started out during the first lockdown back in March a year ago. I myself was an engineering student with nothing better to do, so I was kind of looking around and messing with electronics and the likes. I found a video on YouTube or Twitter of a visually impaired fan being brought to the game by his dad, and his dad was tracing the position of the ball on his palm. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. Why doesn't he just describe the game to him but he's actually just using a tactile way to do it by tracing the position of the ball on his palm. So it got me thinking about how a technological solution could be built to do this for blind fans instead of having to rely on audio only. So I started building prototypes just in my bedroom. And then it was this stage when we started talking to the blind fans, just saying, hey, look, this is what I'm doing. Do you think it's interesting? And when we realized that, when I realized, I suppose, that there's that initial demand for it, that I got my close school friends, Tim and David, on board to help with some of the most important parts of the project, such as the artificial intelligence or the branding and marketing. Since then, we've completed the first prototype. We've gotten a full demo secured with Bohemians Football Club, which is, I'm going to call it the best team in Ireland, but some might disagree. And we're working hard on getting more demos and partnerships along the way. And then we got into QST in February, which was a fantastic boost to our progress.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I want to take you back a little, because this show is all about shining a spotlight on people, whether it's business, whether it's athletes or footballers or whatever those things, people that are making a real difference. And I want to take you back just a little bit to the stage where you were sitting in your bedroom because we had the COVID and the lockdowns and et cetera, et cetera. What exact, and I know that you said you saw somebody, but what was that the defining moment for you? Is it you saw somebody that was having a problem? Has any of your family got a problem, or kind of is short-sighted, or that's visually impaired, or what was it? It was just a defining moment. You were in your bedroom and that was it.
Yeah, I think it was that simple. I mean, fortunately, none of us kind of have close friends or family members, or know anyone at all really with the visual impairments. So it really was just, it's quite a random thing, you could argue, in that sense, that it was just something I saw online, but it was something that really struck me, particularly as an avid football fan. The thought of, perhaps not being able to watch my favorite team play one day was, I thought that was quite interesting. That's kind of what I gained from what I was seeing online. And my co-founders are the same.
I just want to keep on going to you. Because I think you've got an amazing story. I think it's just incredible story. And I'll tell you why, because a really brief one is that I had one of my guests, his name was Shaker Naik, and he was from near Bangalore, and he was blind until he was 8 years old. And literally he had nobody wanting to interact with him because he wasn't fun to be with, or that's what people thought. This guy, that somebody noticed him in the village, he cut his eye, and some doctors were visiting. They said that they could potentially cure some of his, they could give him some of his sight back. And this guy went on, they cured his sight. There's a long story. It would be the next Slumdog Millionaire, without a shadow of a doubt. It's an incredible story, because he goes on and is the captain for the blind cricket for India that wins the World Cup, and it wins the T20. And it's all from people like yourself, or just helping others, just considering what other people are going through. So I really do take my hat off to you guys, because just listening to it, it's a phenomenal story. And I'm so excited that you've got it off the ground. You said briefly about Qatar Sports Tech. This is going to be a great platform for you to jump from, right?
Absolutely. Well, that's a fantastic story you were just mentioning beforehand. I must listen to that previous podcast and learn more, because it does sound like a really enjoyable listen. In terms of Qatar Sports Tech, yeah, like it really does sound so. It brought a smile to my face. In terms of Qatar Sports Tech, it's really great. We've been through a couple of accelerators, back home in Ireland, which have been fantastic in terms of, showing us the ropes, and in terms of launching a business, the marketing, the registration, the finance, all the kind of, I wouldn't call them the boring things, but the important pillars, I suppose, of business. Qatar Sports Tech, it has all that, but then what it really also has is the connections and the mentors to the sports industry, and the knowledge and experience in the sports industry, which is what we need. Because our business model is working directly with stadiums, sports clubs, and sports broadcasters, the three of these. So Qatar Sports Tech has been fantastic in finding us the mentors, the companies, and anyone in between, in terms of expertise and experience, who can help us build these relationships and figure out how to position our product and our technology to the right people in the sports industry.
I can't tell you how good a time this is now. And You're in perfect time. And I've done quite a few sports hackathons, sports tech hackathons, where people want to do the same. They want to help the visually impaired so that people can enjoy it. But it's very difficult to get to the MVP. And as you said, you're working with a football club at the moment. You've got a massive opportunity, especially with that small competition that's coming in 2022. This could be the time and the place for you guys.
Absolutely. It's I think we are really fortunate with the timing, and I think, you know, COVID, a lot of businesses are obviously struggling with COVID. I think it's helped us a lot, because what we're able to do now is that we're able to test in lower capacity stadiums, which makes things a lot easier from a logistical point of view. And we're also at a time where stadiums are looking to bounce back hard, and you know, having a product such as ours is a real boost for that, in terms of both marketing and in terms of doing the right thing. And then, of course, the small competition, which you were mentioning, you know, we'll make no secret that that's a goal of ours to get into. So, you know, being in this ecosystem here in Qatar is obviously a great help for that also.
And again, I'm going back just briefly onto that. It was just an idea in your bedroom. And I want people to realize that as well. I want people, all these budding entrepreneurs that think that they've got a concept and they don't think their idea is good enough because they thought about it in their bedroom when they were on a lockdown. This is when you've got to push as hard as you can, and you believe, and I love your belief. I really do. I love your belief and how you got it started. What can you share? I know that we've given it about your product, and it's going to be open. It's going to open the world up to so many different people, especially from this visually impaired situation. And it's going to really kind of it's going to add something to their lives to go to a football ground and to experience the atmosphere, and then be there to be able to experience it on their palms. It's brilliant. I think it's fantastic. Was there times, and again, this is for people out there, was there times in this process that it didn't go well, that you had a few hiccups? How did you get over those?
I think the biggest hiccup, and it's worth paying attention to anyone at home, is it's so ingrained in, I think, in kind of startups to do everything yourself. You know, you kind of think of the tech geniuses like, you know, Mark Zuckerberg or whatever, and they're kind of, you know, just in their bedrooms, just coding away, you know, building away, doing everything themselves, and they're just mega geniuses. You know, that only works until a certain point, especially if you're not a mega genius, such as myself, speaking for myself at least, where I guess my point is that towards the start of the journey, we were trying to build everything ourselves, and it reached a stage where the tech that we needed to develop, we developed the concepts perfectly, but we just weren't actually doing the architecture of the electronics right or whatever. So that's when I took a step back and realized, okay, we need to outsource certain things or bring different people in to help out. So I think that was the biggest hiccup for us, was realizing, perhaps slightly bit too late, that we needed to bring on expertise from other areas and not rely on ourselves solely. It's not a problem, because, you know, we're still doing fine at this stage, but that would be my number one advice, is don't do everything yourself if you don't have to, or if you think that someone else can do it better, because it'll save money and time in the long run.
That's a really valuable, that's a fantastic point, to be quite honest with you, because we do, and as entrepreneurs, you think to yourself, you haven't got the budget, or you struggle through, but it's not worth it sometimes, especially when you've got something of this size in your hands. Did everybody agree with you? And I'm going to put this over to David. From the beginning, David, did everybody agree with your idea, or did they think that it was a little bit beyond you? Did you take negatives at the beginning?
I don't think there was ever any negatives, because I think it's such a fantastic idea that anyone we've talked to as well have just instantly loved it. So I had no negatives about it. I remember Omar told me about it originally, and I basically said, all right, cool. That's a really cool idea. And he didn't actually invite me on board, but I secretly would have loved to have worked with him on it. And then later, a few months later, he said, we're going to apply to this accelerator. Like, do you want to work with me on it? And I just said yes instantly. Like, so there was never any pushback on the idea. Like, I always loved it. So it's no drama there, unfortunately.
It sounds like what's your team? You've got 4 in your team now, or have you got more?
No, we have 3 in our team.
3. And
yeah.
it must be, you rely on it. What's it like working with that close team?
Well, it's actually good because we've been friends in school for like 8 years now. So we've known each other from the age of 11, 12 up. And we've worked on projects before in the past. So we knew our team dynamic was good. And we knew that we could accomplish a lot together. So it was like there's really very few hiccups, along the way, team dynamic wise, because we all have our like defined roles and we all have our like skill sets that just complement each other. So there's no real drama there, unfortunately. I know it would make better content, but
Oh dear me, no. But I listen. I love it when you get a team come together because people sometimes always come out with a few negatives, and it's not easy to work with friends and all that kind of stuff. But it's great to hear success stories when people do come together and it fits so nicely. Let's now go a little bit more into your product. You say you're working with this football club. Well, you say that, Omar, that it's one of the best football clubs in Ireland. But what's the test program going like at the moment? What's the feedback like?
So it's yet to start at this. We had it agreed a couple of weeks before we traveled to Qatar, but we then had to get an insurance. So in case, I don't know, we burnt down their stadium or something, that we wouldn't have to pay for that in our pockets, which is so rare. But I guess that's probably another hiccup into the whole corporate world, I suppose, is that sometimes you get tied down with paperwork and bureaucracy and insurance and stuff like that. So maybe that's another warning to the listeners. So anyway, back to the point. We agreed the full pilot program with them. We had a few matches scheduled, which we then had to delay due to not having insurance and stuff. And then we actually ended up coming to Qatar. So the program our trial demos on hold with them until the start of June when we're back in Dublin. But we're going to be ready to hit the ground running with them there. We've produced our cameras. We've produced the the prototype that users will be using. So I think the first initial feedback we kind of got from the club is, I'll actually take a step back and explain how the product works, because that would actually make more sense. It's that basically we have an artificial intelligence model, which once it gets a camera feed, it can track everything in the match, look at the ball position live, what team has the ball, what the players are doing, are they kicking it, are they shooting it, are they tackling? So that's all being gathered by the cameras, and then that's being transmitted to the device. The device is kind of a tablet shape, and it's got a football pitch ingrained on it, and it's also got a ball on the top, and the ball actually just moves to any position. And with that, the user actually puts their finger on the ball, and it actually just drags their finger around. It's kind of the opposite of a joystick. In joystick, it's like the user is kind of pushing the joystick, but in this case, the joystick is pushing the user's finger across the entire pitch. And then there's also vibrating motors on either the top or the bottom of the device, so that you can feel which team is kicking it, which team is shooting it, which team's passing it. So back to my story. So the initial plan was and that's slightly still the current plan, was to install 4 of our own cameras in a stadium, 1 in each corner, and use that to gather the data and then send it back to the device. However, even in a small stadium, or a relatively small stadium, which we're using right now, it's a challenge to install your own cameras into the stadium. You have to kind of figure out exactly where to put them and that they're not obstructing fire escapes or existing cameras or fan views. Even if they're small cameras, we have to write up safety documents and all this kind of stuff. And the club are very accommodating, in fairness to them, and we really appreciate that. However, that made us realize, along with other talks with potential customers, is that using a broadcasting camera would be much better. Using the pre-existing, BBC, Sky Sports, beIN Sports cameras would make much more sense, because we wouldn't have to install our own cameras. It's more technically challenging in terms of the artificial intelligence, but it makes much more sense from logistics. So I think that was the first big lesson we learned from the testing, even before the testing began. So we're pivoting slightly to suit our technology for pre-existing broadcasting feeds. So when we get back in June, we'll be hitting the ground running with the testing. I'm really looking forward to it, and really looking forward to the reactions.
I think these TV stations, because there's nothing. Have you got any competitors out there that's doing something like this?
There's a couple of competitors. The difference is that they've only built the hardware, they've only built the device, they don't have the artificial intelligence. So what they need is they need to actually hire some kind of human operator to actually I don't know, move a mouse and keyboard and kind of input all the data themselves, like the ball position, rather than, you know, a robot or a machine doing it, which is what we do. Ours is also the only portable device, and which and wireless also. So yeah.
So with the bedroom, and I'm going to go back to we'll keep on going back to the bedroom, right? It's like, did you have any experience with AI back then?
No one did. Tim basically just said, "Yeah, I'm interested in this. I'm gonna take it on," and he's held his own, to be honest, in terms of the AI, which is quite good. You know, I at stages had to outsource hardware development, electronic development. Tim's just done all the AI himself. He just knows how to get it done, just by self-learning, which is quite impressive, and a testament to I suppose what you can achieve without a university degree or without years of experience.
And I'm going to bring you back in, David. We've left you out here. What do you do?
Yeah, so I'm kind of the all-rounder of the team. As I'm a computer science and business, I'm a computer science and business student. So my main expertise is in coding and also business operations. So I work on any code that needs to be done in the project, such as with the website, and with we have a companion app, and for the code that needs to be done for the physical device itself. And then I'm also I've got an interest in graphic design. So I do all the graphic design and the slides and all the any design that the company needs to do. And then, as I said, I have a business degree, so I work on a lot of the business operations as well. But they've kind of ramped up over COVID, so we kind of split them now because there's too much. I'd get overwhelmed.
I must admit, I chuckled a little when you said you were the all-rounder, but you definitely are an all-rounder. That's yeah, that's so important.
I mean, I didn't mean all-rounder I meant to sense of all-rounder is I'm not particularly good at anything, rather than I'm
come on
at everything. I mean, I'm a jack of all trades. That's what I'm saying. Tim is the computer vision, artificial intelligence expert, so but I wouldn't be able to do any of that. So
it's unbelievable what you've achieved so far, and you're going to have your product that's going to be up and running in June. And it's going to be, you've got a place to already practice, to kind of trial it. So what's the future got to hold once this all goes through? What are you going to try as your next steps? Obviously the World Cup, but there's just so much there for you to go for right now if this works.
Yeah, so it's a really long road, but there's definitely a lot of opportunity. So short term is nail the test with Bohemians this summer, and then potentially look into getting a test with a bigger club. We're having a few conversations with slightly bigger clubs in England to get a test kind of from September to November potentially, and then from there we should be really happy with the product, both hardware side and software side. And then it's just getting into clubs, talking to clubs, and selling it to as many clubs as possible. And then obviously there's the World Cup in the following year, which would be an honor to work for and provide our technology for. Then after that, we really want to be getting into the the consumer market and selling these to people's houses, because at the moment, the kind of technology is set up to work in stadiums for fans in stadiums. But of course, there's still hundreds of millions of people at home who could do it, something like this. And then eventually, actually, potentially before that, we want to be expanding into other sports as well. So a kind of a unique thing about our device is that you can take off I suppose, I won't call it the lid, but I'll call it the top surface, which has the football pitch engraved into it. And you can swap it in with, I don't know, a basketball court, a rugby court, a Gaelic football court for us Irish.
Hey, listen, I played Gaelic.
Are you any good opposition?
I was always a defender, always having the fights back. As you know, there's always a fight in Gaelic football, right?
yes.
Yeah.
I think that's what everybody goes there for.
Yeah, that's what I play it for anyway.
It's going to be there, open to every sport you can think of. You could possibly have this.
Yeah. Any field sport that has a ball and a field, we want to cover in the future.
I think it's phenomenal. I don't think you're going to have a problem with people embracing this, especially the TV companies. I think they're going to want to embrace it because it's an extra service for them too. And I think that's going to be a real added bonus, especially the way that with, let's hope this COVID is all coming to an end. Let's get people back in the stadiums. It's a phenomenal. It really is. Did you ever, is there, along that journey, did you ever have any doubts it could have stopped the whole project?
I think you always naturally have doubts, you know, a bit of imposter syndrome here, a bit of, oh God, what am I doing? Should I not just like, you know, watch my college lectures instead of, you know, travel to Doha and kind of work with, you know, some huge companies. Yeah. I mean, you always naturally doubt yourself. I don't think there's anything particular which doubted us, but you know, always in your head, you kind of second guess yourself. But I think the goal, once you've got like a really determined goal, or you can actually see the vision that you're working towards, it really helps. Because when you doubt yourself, you can just kind of say, yeah, but like, look at what we're actually doing and look at what it could become. And then the doubt kind of fades away. That's how it works for me anyway.
And another great point, because I think that's what every startup, that's such a valuable lesson to anybody that's going to be starting up, becoming an entrepreneur or a concept, because that's what you've got to do ultimately, is just believe in what you're going to follow through on. And again, you've got a pretty good thing that you're wanting to follow through on, which is going to help so many people. Funding. Let's talk about funding. Do you like the funding side of it, or do you just want to get on and develop the product?
It's I mean, it's kind of daunting at the start, I guess. I mean, we haven't actually gotten to the stage of like searching for kind of angel investors, VC funding. That's something we're definitely going to be doing towards the end of this program. And yeah, so at the moment we've been just getting funding from a few accelerator programs. So a bit of funding from Qatar Sports Tech, a nice bit of funding from a fantastic AI program that we're working on in Dublin, Alcessa program, and then a few more kind of, I think we're lucky as we were students, we could enter some kind of small student competitions, and we've gotten a few thousand here and there, which is very helpful. And that's more than enough to get us through this kind of trial phase with Bohemians, potentially into the summer, into early September. And that's when we'll need to search for funding. But at that stage, we're going to be having like, you know, really solid fan testimonials, you know, customer letter intents, hopefully. So then we'll be really active on the fundraising route.
With another question with the funding, or what was it like when you first went into? You said that you've got some funding. You have 3 types of funding with QST, and there was another couple. What was it like when you first went for the first one? What was it like going in there and doing the pitch?
I think we're all tech students first and foremost. So, you know, like I think we'd all be much more comfortable working on a bit of code than like going in there and pitching in front of everyone. But one thing I did find is that it's because our company has only existed during COVID. Any presentation we've ever had to do has just been on Zoom. And I think doing a presentation on Zoom is like, I get very nervous for presentations, but when I do it on Zoom, I just turn off all the cameras and just talk to the little points right there. And it's fine because you forget that there's anyone watching, and you make a mistake and it doesn't bother you. So for me anyway, I found like I'm much more enjoying the pitches on Zoom. I'd happily keep it that way forever.
You're going to cancel it. You're an anti-vaccine person just to keep COVID going.
Yeah. That's an advantage of COVID, which I don't think is talked about much.
And what about you, Omar? Are you a duck out of water with it, or do you just find it easy, just the pitch?
No, it's not easy. I mean, you can make it look easy. I think sometimes, I don't know if I make it look easy or not, but I've definitely spoken to people who make it look easy, and they all say that it's just practice and just a bit of acting. But like, no, I hate pitches. I dread them. Like, you know, whenever I'm not gonna lie, once or twice I've made half excuses to get David to do them, because sometimes I just not in the right frame of mind to do them. But I think it's just practice, and you know, the first one's always going to be the hardest, and they just get easier and easier.
And let's finish with this one. Where do you see yourselves in the next year?
Well, this time next year will be just leading up to the World Cup. So for me anyway, I'd like to see myself sitting exactly where I am in Qatar, making our last preparations for the World Cup, where our devices will be in the stadiums. That's my optimistic hope for this time next year. I don't know about Omar.
Yeah, no, I mean, hopefully kind of, I don't know, in the stadiums, potentially a bit more hands-on work than what we're doing at the moment. But yeah, definitely. But by this stage next year, the plan is to be have our technology established in a number of stadiums, and then working up to the big stadiums such as the World Cup and the likes.
I think I got to thank you both for coming on today. I think you've got a phenomenal concept. I think you're going to improve the life of so many people just to experience that joy. I can't congratulate you enough. I really am going to be following your progress. I'm going to be following it. I want to see you at the World Cup. I'll be here too. When you come over to Qatar, please, I want to meet up with you. I think you've got a great concept and it's going to be a huge thing for sports. Thank you so much for coming on the show today. It's been magnificent having you on. And I'm so glad that just from an idea in the bedroom last November, you've taken it into a concept that could go global and for the benefit of others. Thank you so much for coming on to join us today.
An absolute pleasure.
Thank you.
Been a pleasure, Steve. Thanks so much.
Thanks.
Thank you so much indeed. Everybody, I hope you can see what it means when all of a sudden you've got an idea just to help somebody and change somebody's life. These guys just had that. They had an idea concept in their bedroom on one November evening thinking, hey, you know something, I'm going to make a difference to some people out there. They actually went and done it. They've got something that they're going to be launching, and it could be in the next World Cup. Guys, thank you so much for coming on. Everybody, thanks for listening. See you next time. Bye for now.
Everyone, thank you for listening. Please send us your feedback on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. And don't forget to review us on your favorite podcast app.